Imagine this: a house that traps you inside during a mysterious global disaster. Doors sealed, rain brings creatures, and maybe it was all engineered on purpose. Is it man-made or something else? Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Allie.
And I'm Brianne.
Quick update. I spent last night in a very drafty funeral home basement chasing a cold spot with an EMF meter. Caught a shadow on camera. Or dust. But I'm saying shadow.
Meanwhile, I was in my office with a cup of tea and the lights on. No ghosts, 10 out of 10, highly recommend.
You're missing the adventure.
I'll survive, and welcome to the Vale, unsolved and unbelievable.
Okay, so check this out. Today I want to talk about The Last House, the 2026 Netflix sci-fi thriller, and my personal conspiracy theory about its original title, 11817. I think the movie is secretly pointing at a coastal barrier project that went sideways.
Wait, a movie with a hidden agenda, or it's a film about people stuck in a house, which is what the trailer said. Sorry, not sorry.
Here's what went down. The Last House is directed by Louis Leterrier, written by Matthew Robinson, and it dropped on Netflix August 2026. Greta Lee plays Anne. Wagner Moura plays Jason. They're in suburban Seattle with their kids when this weird rain hits and suddenly, no doors or windows open. There's a water-based barrier hugging the house. It even extends under the floors, and communications just die. They can't leave and creatures come out when it rains. That's the setup in a nutshell. At first, they ration and try to keep the kids calm. Electricity still works briefly, which buys them time. Anne starts an indoor vegetable garden. Jason rigs up a water reclamation system. They create routines for the kids. The film is super claustrophobic and very process-driven. Then things turn. A neighbor named Susan gets attacked in the rain. The family starts blacking out windows during storms. A fallen chimney cap leaves this tiny vertical opening they can't squeeze through, but can use to interact with the outside. Things get bleak. Their dog Cassidy gets sick with no meds, so Jason euthanizes him. They store the remains in the freezer and later use them as bait for traps. That's one of the grim survival beats. Then the grid fails. Years pass. The living room turns into a greenhouse. Jason's water systems go house-wide. The kids age. They struggle with hopelessness. Ruth keeps saying she thinks the rain creatures aren't just monsters. She thinks they're from the ocean, reclaiming the planet. A tentacled thing drips seawater all over their garden and contaminates their food and water. Ruth gets bitten while helping with traps. Infection sets in. So Anne crawls through sewage pipes to a neighbor's place to steal antibiotics, and almost runs into a creature on the way back. Then the house starts sinking. The ground shifts. Cracks appear. That barrier seems to move with the subsiding soil. During another storm, water blasts up through the plumbing. They scramble to the attic. They trap a creature, and Ruth begs them not to kill it. Jason listens. The creature seems to understand and literally opens the front door, signaling the others to back off. Right after that, the house collapses into a sinkhole. When the rain stops, they come out. Seattle is almost entirely underwater. They salvage a boat and find other survivors. The cause of the whole thing stays unexplained on purpose.
And critics were very, mixed. Great performances from Lee and Moura, pacing complaints, and an ending some people found thin. Empire literally went, Arthur C. Clarke this ain't. So expectations set.
All right, moving on. My theory. The film's working title was 11817 before it became The Last House. I believe 11817 isn't random. I think it's a tag for a littoral containment project, like a coastal ring that manipulates water behavior. Not a glass dome, a hydrological field that rides the soil line. That explains why the barrier hugs the house and even blocks under the floors, and why it shifts when the ground subsides. It's anchored to geology. And yeah, this is personal. I did a tiny week at Shepperton during the build, foam core goblin duty, and I remember a production binder with 11817 faintly penciled on the inside cover. Could be nothing, but then on stage C the catch trays had this briny tang one day, and the tank techs were like, impossible, it's recycled stage water. Someone joked, "The ocean says hi." And on a scenic whiteboard there was a sketch marked "Ring Seal" with arrows to the foundation, and half-erased text that said "Barrier depends on ground." That is exactly how the movie's system acts. At lunch, a coordinator was annoyed about clearance for some diagrams, cross-sections that said "literal containment test bed" in the margin. They vanished the next day. Later, during rehearsal of the Mercy scene, the front door mechanism swung wider than planned right when the family withheld aggression. The beat felt procedural. You meet a compliance condition and the ring grants egress. I clocked a shredded prop doc scrap that read, "Dynamic egress criteria." It stuck in my head. Now look at the text on screen. Creatures in the rain. One drips seawater and fouls a freshwater system. Ruth says they're oceanic and reclaiming the planet. Then the reveal that Seattle is flooded to the rooftops. If 11817 is a shoreline control scheme that failed, the creatures could be guardians or automated enforcers. You act aggressively, you stay sealed. You show mercy, you pass the handshake. The ring opens, you leave. And that billboard stunt in LA with a person living on a furnished board, binoculars and a whiteboard, silent signaling and surveillance, like training wheels for a rules-based environment. Here's the deal. The last house is disclosure by metaphor. So yeah, I think 11,817 points to a coastal barrier experiment. The movie encodes failure modes. Ground subsidence weakens the ring. Saltwater vectors contaminate freshwater. And a mercy protocol serves as a non-violent request to exit. I rest my case.
So let me get this straight. Your evidence is a working title, some stage water with a funny taste, a whiteboard doodle, and a door that misfired. I call BS on the covert blueprint bit. The film very deliberately never explains the cause. That's textual. It's a claustrophobic survival story, not a manual. Even Empire said it's not hard sci-fi. The point is tension, routine, family dynamics, not engineering disclosure. Also, production at Shepperton in England was about control. Water rigs, contained sets, not a wink-wink at coastal labs. The billboard stunt on Sunset and Selma was marketing, surveillance vibes to match the film. Not a cipher. Reviews back this. The Hollywood Reporter and RogerEbert.com complained about the payoff because the mystery stays opaque. If there were a secret white paper inside, they'd have, noticed something more than vibes. On the science, a water barrier behaving like a solid shell is not how fluids work without external fields. And if you had a field strong enough to lock water like that, it wouldn't politely shift only when the soil slumps. It would hold constant boundaries. The barrier moving with subsidence screams geology, not tech. The seawater drips and garden contamination read as symbols of the ocean encroaching, not evidence of a designed salt system. And the creature opening the door could be narrative catharsis, mimicry, or learned behavior, not a coded protocol. From the psychology side, what you've got is patternicity, confirmation bias, apophenia. You saw 11-18-117 in a binder. Now every circle on a whiteboard is a secret collar clamp. It's human. We overfit noise. The film invites that by withholding answers, and that's fine. It's entertainment. But no authoritative voice in the story says engineered origin, no broadcasts, no scientists, nothing. Distribution straight to Netflix, mixed reviews. That tracks with mid-budget genre, not clandestine messaging.
I mean, sure, it's a movie first. But hidden messages happen. This one is like systems on systems. Water reclamation, indoor agriculture, valves, traps. Every beat teaches you to think in flows and control. Even the mercy. You call it catharsis. I call it a non-violent handshake. Animals absolutely learn threat versus not threat cues. If these creatures are oceanic, maybe they're running a simple rule set. Don't attack, door opens. It maps too cleanly to be a coincidence, Brianne.
It maps cleanly because stories are designed to resolve. You get a moral pivot. You get release. And remember the critics, Brian Tallarico gave it 1.5 out of 4 and called it frustrating and forgettable. NME slapped it 2 out of 5. The Guardian went 3 out of 5 and said it's fine for a low-stakes stream. If there were a covert briefing baked in, it's not exactly the sharpest delivery vehicle. The point is, we don't have evidence, we have a vibe and a number.
Back to the story. Even if you don't buy 11817 as a code, the film's very clear about one thing. Mercy matters. That's not nothing. If we ever face weird rules in the wild, having a non-violent first move could be the smartest play.
Let's put a pin in the ring seal of destiny. Here's the larger question. Can fiction reshape how we scan reality, and where do we draw the line between having fun with possibilities and mistaking metaphor for proof?
If that question lights you up, I've got a quick pick. The Hidden Messages in Water by Masaru Emoto. Controversial, yeah, but I love the idea that water can hold information. It'll make you look at a glass of rain very differently. All right, moving on. Plans for tonight. I'm queuing a horror marathon. Storm episode, obviously.
And I'm watching a documentary on cognitive biases, then sleeping like a baby with my door very much unlocked by any ocean guardians, thanks.
Thanks for listening, you lot. Question everything. Be kind first. And if your house starts humming during a storm, maybe don't poke it with a crowbar.
Stay curious, stay skeptical, and we'll see you next time on The Veil, Unsolved and Unbelievable.